Hello, and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I am your host, John Channon, and today I am joined by John Quinlivan, who is the founder and CEO at Gordon James Construction and Development Company. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, your role, responsibilities, and then the business that you're in?
Sure. Born and raised Minnesota kid, and went to college at Mankato. Spent my first 18 years in telecommunications until 2005, and traveling 4 weeks a month wasn't working well to have two kids and a wife at home, and so I changed gears. I made a drastic change to what ended up being construction. Bought some land. Um, was initially going to just develop some land and get back into Minneapolis is a very rich Fortune 500 community, and thought I could find something local here. And then we decided to build the house and see how that went to help sell land. And next thing you know, somebody wanted us to build an Irish pub, and then another project and a house, and kind of took off from there. So didn't really have intentions in the beginning of ending up here, but that's where we landed. Um, I couldn't build a house to save my life, but I can run a company. And so I do all of our sales and marketing and run the organization, and learned quickly that hiring experienced staff who do know how to build and develop is crucial to us. And so yeah, we're surrounded by a great team, and here we are 19 years later. As of, I think it's March 3rd, we'll be 19 years in. And the company, by the way, is named after my dad. He passed away when I was younger, and always loved his name, and he wasn't so crazy about it. So I thought it'd be a way for me to use it. So that's where Gordon James comes from.
Oh, that's great. That's an interesting story. You mentioned yourself that, you really don't know how to build a house, and you'd been in the communications industry prior to this. So, what was that spark that caused you to start this type of business?
I, well, in the community I live in, there was 20 acres for sale. A couple was getting divorced and asked if I wanted to buy it. And, I knew we're 20 to 25 minutes from downtown Minneapolis, but it's a very rural community, uh, uh, very equestrian community and stuff, but we have a very successful school district. And so I knew I couldn't really lose on the land, and I thought I might be able to make a little money. And my wife and I live very conservatively, so I didn't have to get a job like overnight. And I thought this was a way for me to put food on the table, and it just kind of grew from there. I didn't do this thinking I was going to be a contractor initially.
That's really interesting. So really your business was born of opportunity, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about, you didn't know construction, but you were able to run a business, right? You knew about building a business or running a business. What are some of the common, misconceptions that people may have about running a business?
Oh, gosh, where do I start? Um, the what do they say? Like 80% of new restaurants fail within the first 2 years, and I don't know that that number is exactly right, but a high number. And I think that's because a misconception is I'm going to open the doors, they will come. All I got to do is do what I do best, whether it's a contractor and swinging a hammer or flipping burgers and you're a cook, and that it'll just come easy. And I think they also underestimate the expenses. And I pay somebody $30 an hour. Well, you don't really. You pay them $30 an hour plus payroll tax plus insurance plus. $30 an hour employee is really 45. And so when they're building their plans, I think there's way more expense than they plan for, and there's way more success than is actually going to happen up front, because it takes a while. to really build a business and get clients through the door and have them start referring other clients through the door. It doesn't happen overnight. Some businesses better than others. My wife, we right next to here built and started a coffee shop cafe in 2005. Same year I started my company. We wanted as much stress on us as possible, so we started two businesses. She sold that in 2018 after 13 and a half years, but that business you can get off the ground quicker than you can home construction. But you still need time to build the business and build the clientele. And I think sometimes there's that, as soon as I open the doors, are going to come running, and it doesn't work that way.
You spoke about the two of you starting businesses at the same time. How did you guys maintain your work-life balance during that period of time?
Well, that's a great question. It was a struggle for a few years. I'd work all day, go home and eat, and then go back to work at night. And she didn't have to work at night, but still, we were certainly, burning the candle at both ends. But we did have going for us. We live in a small community, and she was across the street essentially from me. So any minute that I had where I want to go grab a coffee or grab lunch, I could do it. I could do it with her, and that was certainly a huge advantage.
So you're 19, almost 20 years in.
Yeah.
Tell me about your work-life balance now.
Well, it's pretty good now. The last couple of years has been, um, pretty good to me. I'm 58, and at some point you want to enjoy what you've worked for. So we've had an opportunity to take a few more vacations. Kim works here now, by the way. My wife is here at the company. So that's been super helpful. We're empty nesters, and our son youngest just graduated from college last May, and he's got a job and is off and running on his own. So you can now afford to take some time off and do the things that you want to do, but not terrible amount. Probably do 3-4 trips a year.
What was maybe the one or two key things that you needed to do to kind of get your work-life balance to where it is today?
Well, you have to have the personnel that when you walk away from the job, that that they can handle the company. And really, you owe it as a business owner, even in corporate, you owe it to your employees and your clients to have things set up that if something happened to you, that the business doesn't fail. And that's our job here, is to make sure that every position has a manual, if you will, and that if somebody has to step into it, they can, and others in the organization know how to do it. And so, yeah, it's having a capable staff. We did a 2-week vacation in December for our 30th anniversary. I didn't think about it. I did bring my computer. Sure, I touch base every day. I wanted to keep it. I didn't want to come back to. I get over 100 emails a day, so I didn't want to come back to 1,000 emails. So I would get on and clean things up, but I wasn't really worried about the business itself because I have a very capable team.
That's great. That's sage advice. So I'm going to change the subject a little bit and talk
Sure.
about, innovation, right? How do you stay adaptable and open to change? And are there any specific strategies you're using to try to remain innovative in your industry?
Well, yeah. So I left an industry that was cutting edge, some say bleeding edge, right at the front end technology. In the 90s, I remember sitting down with clients and showing them the internet, and it was amazing, right? I remember showing clients how to send those first emails, and somebody would be on the phone on Kansas City on the other side and go, "Oh my gosh, I got it," and they could read it, and that's innovation, right? Construction moves a lot slower than that. We still use 2x4s, we still use drywall, still pouring the same concrete. Yes, there's been some changes in those things over the years where we have, um, engineered studs now for, cabinet walls and things like that we do. but it's certainly not as fast as um, technology. But that's also the upside. The upside is because it's slow, it's easier to find how to drive technology in our industry because a lot of it, uh, what do they call them? Late adapters, right? A lot of folks in
Yep.
our industry adapt late.
Mhm.
And so it's been, um, easier for us to find, those opportunities. We do a cloud-based job management software that, our clients keep everything on the phone, on their laptop, on their iPad. While they're traveling, they can see what's going on in the job every day. We manage everything. We keep their warranties, their manuals, their plans, their surveys, everything in the cloud, and it stays with them for life. Well, we've been doing that for, gosh, 10 plus years. When we started, we were one of the few. Now I would say it's probably 70% of the industry is kind of adapted to that. So, we constantly find ways to use technology to our advantage and have better client experience.
Yeah, that's a nice example too, because I'm sure that using that cloud-based communication strategy solved a lot, right? Keeps your customers up to date, solves
Yep.
back and forth phone calls, right? And then they always had access to what was going on and how much it was costing and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, well, and I don't know if you ever built a house, but the days where you keep the rolled up plans in your desk, right? For 20, 30, 40 years until you sell the house. Well, here's the old plans to the house. Now we have a digital copy. It's in your phone. You want to look up the plans to your house, you can do that. You don't need to keep it there. How about warranty manuals, right? I had over the pandemic, an ice machine that went out in a little cottage that we have up north. And I dug through the drawer. I built that before I started the construction company, and I dug through the drawer and found the Amana plans and called in and told the guy, "Here's what it is," so he could show up with the part or parts and understanding what it was. And our coffee table to this day is, jammed with plans. Manuals that thick. Well, today those are all on my phone. If I'm a client of my company, those are on my phone. And so if I want to go to the paint store because I want to repaint a room and they say, what color is the paint? I can pull up my phone and say it was, Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams. Here's the color, and they can match it. It makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, easier and more efficient.
Yep.
So let's focus now a little bit on the future. Would you be willing to offer a glimpse into your future plans and goals for your business?
Sure. Small business owners don't have uh, what's called a pension plan, right? Our pension plan is our employees. And so, over the next, I'm 58, I'll still be involved on a full-time basis for probably a good 10 years. And then past that, it's probably going to take me another 10 years to slow down slowly. Um, but as I do that, having partners here in the business that can slowly take over the business from me, and I can help mentor them over the next 20 years. That's essentially my pension plan, right? And that's how I get to selfishly stay involved with the business. Uh, that maybe in my later years, I don't have to work as much, but I could still stay involved. And at the same time, making sure that my company, Gordon James, doesn't have to shut its doors when I decide to retire. And so that's how it'll live on.
So a lot of times business owners and entrepreneurs have to respond to things that maybe nobody would have predicted, right? The COVID pandemic. Talk us through kind of how that impacted your business and how were you adapting during that period of time to address some of the challenges that came up?
Well, we had a 2-day period where we were um, not an essential business here in Minnesota. And so you're thinking about what am I going to do with these job sites? we have snow in May here sometimes, right? I mean, it's a crazy environment. And so we had to think about what happens if we shut this down. How do we seal up these job sites? What am I going to do with the employees? And fortunately, a wonderful organization here that represents the building community and affordable building here in Minnesota, Housing First Minnesota, which I'm on the board of today, fought to get construction be an essential business, and it was important to do that because we would have some problems in the future with all these structures being out in the elements for 6, 9 months or however long they would have shut it down. And so we got through that. And then having to have policies, it slowed our construction down because if I was doing insulation and you were doing drywall, you had to wait for me to get out of the house before you could come in and start doing your work. And so we did not have trades coming on top of each other like we normally do and we do today. So it stretched our build times out a little bit, but we made it work.
Yeah, I know a lot of people had supply chain issues with building materials during that period of time as well.
Yeah, yeah, and we did as well. Windows were, today, 3, 4 weeks we can get Windows 3 to 5. Back then there was times we were waiting 35 to 45 weeks to get Windows, and so you have to get creative. We were ordering appliances before we'd start the job, so we'd write a contract with the client just for appliances, to make sure that we get them. Then write a construction contract for the construction portion of the job, or sometimes a contract for the windows before the job even started. So, but you make it work. You get creative and you figure it out, and you make it work.
Yeah, those sound like really creative ideas during that period of time as well. So, recognizing that this show is really designed to help entrepreneurs or help people understand some of the things that they may face if they're going to start up a new business or a new venture. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I actually just shared this with my son a couple weeks ago. Anything you try new, whether it was when he's younger and gets to college and the first 2 weeks are a honeymoon and everything's great, and all of a sudden then you start missing mom's meals, and you have a valley, and that valley happens in business. Your first few months you're starting your new business and you're meeting everybody and it's great, and all of a sudden you start to get scared, you start to get nervous, the business isn't coming through the door, and I think that's uh, for somebody that's religious, that's the good Lord's way of putting some pressure on us to say not everything in life just comes easy. You build your character off of the challenges you face in your life, not the wins that you have in your life. And so you have to keep focused on the other side of the valley. You have to keep focused that there are better days, and you have to keep forging forward because you will get through that valley, but you have to earn your way. And whether that's a new job, whether that's college, whether it's starting a company, you have to stay focused and you have to realize that you are going to have some of those valleys. And just I manifest, I look through the other side and I see there's a light at the other side, and I know I'm going to have to go down through the valley and through the stream and up the other side. But if you know that there's light at the other side, you can make it work.
Oh, that's sage advice. We call that in our business the 3 feet from gold trap. You're about 3 feet from gold, you're digging, digging, but you got to kind of power through that last little bit there. So
It's funny that you say that. One of the analogies I shared with him is I said, if you're digging a tunnel, you don't know if you're 3 feet or 300 feet away. All you know is you just have to keep digging. And eventually you're going to come through on the other side, but you can't see the other side. So it's funny that the gold analogy, that's exactly what I used.
oh, that's cool. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today, John. It was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.
Thank you.